Okay, I'm live. So hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today is day 47 of the plan. I'll be reading Deuteronomy chapters 30 through 33, I believe. So, I don't really know what else to say. Let's go ahead and get started. Returning to the Lord, chapter 30. When all these things happen to you, the blessings and the curses I set before you, and you come to your senses while you're in the nations where the Lord your God has driven you, and your children return to the Lord your God and obey him with all your heart and all your soul by doing everything I'm commanding you to do today, then he will restore your fortunes, have compassion on you, and gather you again from all the peoples where the Lord your God has scattered you. Even if your exiles are at the farthest horizon, he will gather and bring you back from there. The Lord your God will bring you into the land your fathers possessed and take possession of it. He will cause you to prosper and multiply you in more than you did your fathers. The Lord your God will circumcise your heart and your descendants, and you'll love him with all your heart and all your soul so that you'll live. The Lord your God will put all these curses on your enemies who hate and persecute you. Then you will again obey him and follow all his commands I'm commanding you today. The Lord your God will make you prosper abundantly in all the work of your hands, your offspring, the offspring of your livestock, and the produce of your land. Indeed, the Lord will again delight in your prosperity, as he delighted of that in your fathers. When you obey the Lord your God by keeping his commands and statutes that are written in the book of the law and return it to him with all your heart and all your soul, choose life. This command that I give you today is certainly not too difficult or beyond your reach. Who will go up to heaven and get it for us and proclaim it is to us so that we may follow it? And it is not across the sea that you have to ask, who will cross the sea, get it for us, and proclaim it to us that we may follow it? But the message is very near you, in the mouth and in your heart, so that you may follow it. See, today I have set before your life in prosperity, death, and adversity. For I am commanding you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commands, statutes, and ordinances, so you may live and multiply, and the Lord your God may bless you in the land you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away, and you not listen to, and you are led astray to bow and worship to other gods and serve them, I tell you today that you certainly perish and not prolong your days in the land you are entering to possess across the Jordan. I call heaven and earth as witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life so that you and your descendants may live. But the Lord your God, love the Lord your God, obey him, and remain faithful to him. For he is your life, and he will prolong your days as you live in the land the Lord swore to give your fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Chapter 31. Joshua takes Moses' place. Then Moses continued to speak, saying, continue to speak these words to all of Israel, saying, I am now 120 years old. I can no longer act as your leader. The Lord has told me, you will not cross the Jordan. The Lord your God is the one who will cross ahead of you. He will destroy these nations before you, and you will drive them out. Joshua is the one who will cross ahead of you, as the Lord has said. The Lord will deal with them as he did Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites in their land, when he destroyed them. The Lord will deliver them over to you. You must do to them exactly as I commanded you. Be strong and courageous. Don't be terrified or afraid of them, for the Lord your God is the one who will go with you. He will not leave or abandon you. Moses had then summoned Joshua and said to him in the sight of all of Israel, be strong and courageous, for you will go with this people into the land the Lord swore to give their fathers. You will enable them to possess possession of it. The Lord is the one who will go before you. He will be with you and will not leave or abandon you. Do not be afraid or discouraged. Moses read them this law and gave it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who carried the ark of the Lord's covenant, and to all the elders of Israel. Moses commanded them, at the end of every 7 years, at the appointed time in the year of debt cancellation during the festivals of shelters, when all of Israel's assemblies in the presence of the Lord your God at this place he chooses, you are to read the law about it aloud before all Israel. Gather the people, men, women, dependents, and resident aliens within your city gates, so that they may listen and learn to fear the Lord your God, and be careful to follow these words of this law. Then your children who do not know the law will listen and learn to fear the Lord your God as long as you live in the land you're crossing it to the Jordan to possess. The Lord said to Moses, the time of your death is now approaching. Call Joshua and present yourself at the tent meeting so they may commission him. When Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves at the tent meeting, the Lord appeared at the tent in a pillar of cloud, with the cloud stood at the entrance of the tent. The Lord said to Moses, you're about to rest with your fathers, and these people will soon prostitute themselves with foreign gods in the land they are entering. They will abandon me and break the covenant I made with them. My anger will burn against them on that day. I'll abandon them and hide my face from them so they'll become easy prey. Many troubles and afflictions will come to them. On that day they'll say, haven't these troubles come to us because their God is in anger with us? Because our God is no longer with us? I'll certainly hide my face on the day because all the evil they have done by turning to other gods. Therefore, write down this song for yourselves and teach it to the Israelites. Have them sing it so that this song may be a witness for me against the Israelites. When I bring them into the land I swore to them to give their fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey, they'll eat and fill and prosper. They'll turn to other gods and worship them, despising me and breaking my covenant. And when many troubles and afflictions come to them, this song will testify against them, because their descendants will not have forgotten it. For I know when they are prone to doing, even before I bring them into the land I swore to give them. So Moses wrote down the song on that day and taught it to the Israelites. The Lord commissioned Joshua son of Nun, be strong and courageous, for you will bring the Israelites into the land I swore to them, and I will be with you. That when Moses had finished writing down on a scroll every single word of the law, he commanded the Levites who carried the ark of the Lord's covenant, take this book of the law and place it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, so that you may remain there as a witness against you. For I know how rebellious and stiff-necked you are. If you are rebelling against the Lord now, while I am still alive, how much more will you rebel after I am dead? Assemble all the tribal elders and officers before me, so I may speak to these words directly to them, and call heaven and earth witnesses against them. For I know that after my death you will become completely corrupt and turn from the path I commanded you. Disaster will come to you in the future, because you will do what is evil in the Lord's sight, angering him and what your hands have made. Then Moses recited aloud every single word of this song to the entire assembly of Israel. Chapter 32. Song of Moses. Oh yeah, this is halfway through now. Pay attention, heavens, and I will speak. Listen from earth unto the words from my mouth. But let my teachings fall like rain, and my words settle like dew, like gentle rain on the new grass, and showers on tender plants. For I will proclaim the Lord's name, declare the greatness of our God. The rock, his work is perfect, all his ways are just. Faithful God, without bias, he's righteous and true. His people have acted corruptly towards him. This is not their defect, they are not his children, but a devious and crooked generation. Is this how you repay the Lord, you foolish and senseless people? Isn't he your Father and Creator? Didn't he make you and sustain you? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of past generations. Ask your father, and he will tell you, your elders, and they'll teach you. When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance and divided the human race, he set the boundaries of the people according to the number of the people of Israel. But the Lord's portion in his people, Jacob, his own inheritance. He found them on desolate land in a barren, howling wilderness. He surrounded them, cared for them, and protected them as the people of his eye. He watches over his nest like an eagle and hovers over his young. He spreads out his wings, catches them, and carries them on his feathers. The Lord alone led him with no help from foreign God. He made the ride on heights of the land and eat the produce of the field. He nourished him with honey from the rock, and oil from flinty rock, curds and a herd and milk from the flock, with the fat of lambs, rams from Bashan, and goats, with the choicest grains of wheat. He drank from the wine from the finest grapes. Then Jeshurun became fat and rebelled. He became fat, bloated, and gorged. He abandoned the God who has made him and scorned the rock of his salvation. And they provoked jealousy with different gods. They enraged him with detestable practices. They sacrificed to demons, not God. To gods they had not known, new gods that had just arrived. but your fathers did not fear. You ignored the rock who gave you birth. You forgot the God who gave birth to you. When the Lord saw this, he despised them. Angered by sons and daughters, he said, I'll hide my face from them. I will see what will become of them, for they are a perverse generation of faithless children. They have provoked my jealousy with what is not a God. They have enraged me with their worthless idols. So I have provoked their jealousy with what is not a people. I will enrage some foolish nation, for fire has been kindled because of my anger, and burns the dust of Sheol. It devours the land and its produce, and scorches the fountains of the mountains. I will pile disasters on them. I will use up my arrows against them. They will be weak from hunger, raged against zeal and bitter plague. I will unleash on them wild beasts with fangs, as well as venomous snakes that they slither in the dust. Outside the sword will take their children, and inside there will be terror. When a man and a young woman will be killed, the infant and the gray-haired man. I would have said, I will cut them into pieces and blot out the memory of them from mankind. If I had not feared provocation from the enemy, or feared of those foes might misunderstand and say, our own hand has prevailed. It wasn't the Lord who did all this. Israel is a nation lacking sense with no understanding at all. If only they were wise, they would comprehend this. They would understand their fate. How could one pursue 1,000, or put 10,000 to fight, unless the rock had sold them, unless the Lord had given them up? But the rock is not like our rock, and even our enemies concede. For the vine is from the vine of Sodom, and from the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are poisonous, their custards are bitter, their wine is serpent's venom, the deadly poison of cobras. It's not stored up with me, sealed in my vaults. Vengeance belongs to me, I will repay. It is time that their foot will slip, for the day of disaster is near, and their doom is coming quickly. The Lord will indeed vindicate his people, and have compassion on their servants when he sees their strength is gone, and no one is left, slave or free. He'll say, where are their gods, the rock they found refuge in, who ate the fat of the sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them arise up and help you. Let it be a shelter for you. See now that I am alone, and there is no God but me. I bring death and I give life. I wound and I heal. No one can rescue anyone from my power. I raise my hand to heaven and declare, as surely as I live, forgive. And when I sharpen my flashing sword, and my hand takes hold of judgment, I'll take vengeance on my adversaries and repay those who hate me. I'll make my arrows drunk with blood, while my sword devours flesh, the blood of the slain and captives, heads of the enemy leaders. Rejoice, your nation, concerning his people. He will avenge the blood of his servants. He will take vengeance on his adversaries. He will purify the land of his people. That's in the song. Moses came with Joshua, son of Nun, and recited all the words of these songs in the presence of the people. After Moses finished reciting all these words to Israel, he said to them, take heart of the words I'm giving you as a warning to you today, so you may command your children, follow all the words in this law carefully, for they are not meaningless words to you, but they are in your life. And by them you will live long in the land you're crossing to the Jordan to possess. Moses' impending death. On the same day the Lord spoke to Moses, go up Mount Nebo and Abarim range. Go to the land of Moab across from Jericho. Be the land of Canaan I'm giving the Israelites as possession. Then you'll die on the mountain that you go up, and you will be gathered to your people. Just as your brother Aaron died on Mount Hor and was gathered to his people. For both of you broke faith with me along the Israelites' waters of Meribah Kadesh in the wilderness of Sin by failing to treat me as holy in their presence. Although from distance you will view the land I'm giving the Israelites, you will not go there. Chapter 33, the final chapter. Just like yesterday, the third chapter I read was a really long one that just had like 2 full pages, plus the other extra stuff on each page beside it. So it's been a little bit longer than before. So it's just like back up to average time. Moses' blessings. This is the blessing that Moses, the man of God, gave the Israelites before his death. He said, The Lord came from Sinai and appeared to them from Seir. He shone on them from Mount Paran and came with 10,000 holy ones, with lightning from his right hand for them. Indeed, he loves the people. All your holy ones are at your hand, and they assemble at your feet. Each receives your words. Moses gave us instruction, a possession for the assembly of Jacob. So he became king in Jeshurun. When the leaders of the people gathered with the tribes of Israel, let Reuben live and not die. Those people became few. He said about Judah, Lord, hear Judah's cry and bring him out of his people. He fights for his cause with his own hands, but you may help against his foes. He said about Levi, your Thummim and Urim belong to your unfaithful one. You tested him at Manasseh and contended with him at the waters of Meribah. He said about his father and mother, I did not regard them. He disregarded his brothers and did not acknowledge his sons, for they kept your word and maintained your covenant. They will teach your ordinances to Jacob and instruction to Israel. They will send incense before you and burnt offerings on your altar. Lord, bless his possessions, accept the work of his hands, break the back of the adversaries and enemies, so they cannot rise again. He said about Benjamin, the Lord's beloved rests securely on him. It shields him all day and long and results in his shoulders. He said about Joseph, may his land be blessed on the Lord with dew of heaven mounting, watery depths that lie beneath. That's bountiful harvest from the sun and the abundant yield of seasons with best products of the ancient mountains, and the bounty of the eternal hills with choice gifts of the land and everything in it, and with the favor of him who appeared in the burning bush. May these rest in the head of Joseph, on the brow of the prince of his brothers. His firstborn bull has a splendor, horns like these of a wild ox. He gores all the people with them to the ends of the earth. Such are the 10,000s of Ephraim, such are the thousands of Manasseh. He said about Zebulun, rejoice, Zebulun, in your journeys, and Issachar your tents. And they summoned the peoples to a mountain. There they offer acceptable sacrifices, for they draw the wealth of the seas, and hidden treasures of the sand. And he said about Gad, the one who enlarges Gad's territory will be blessed. He lies down like a lion, and tears an arm, or even his head. He chooses the best part for himself, because a ruler's portion was assigned there for him. Okay, sorry, it's 17 minutes. It's almost done now. And there's going to be one more chapter tomorrow, and then we'll be done Deuteronomy. And I think that'd be 5 books now. I can't keep count. I think it's 5 books actually, because Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So yeah, it's 5. He came with the leaders of his people. He carried out the Lord's justice and ordinances for Israel. He said about Dan is a young lion leaping out of Bashan. He said about Naphtali enjoying approval, full of the Lord's blessings, take possession to the west from the south. He said about Asher, may Asher be the most blessed of the sons. May he be the most favored among his brothers, and dip his foot in olive oil. May the bolt of your gate be iron and bronze, and his strength last as long as you live. There is none like the God of Jeshurun, who rides in the heavens at your aid, clouds of his majesty, the God of your eldest dwelling place, the underneath of the everlasting arms. He drives out the enemy before you and commands destroys. All of Israel dwells securely. Jacob lives untroubled, and the grain and new wine, even the skies drip with dew. How happy you are, Israel, who is like you, a people who is saved by the Lord. He is a shield that protects you, the sword you boast in. Your enemies will cringe before you, and you'll tread on their backs. Chapter 34 is so short. I'm just going to go ahead and read 5 chapters today, because it's just this part and these 2 up here, and then that's just what they think it means. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it and finish Deuteronomy today, because today, for me, I'm recording today, and I'm also recording tomorrow, because I'm going with my friend, and so I'll just record 4 chapters, and so they're just a chapter ahead, because in Genesis, one day I only recorded 2 chapters, and so I'm kind of behind on that. That makes sense. I'm just going to stop explaining it and go ahead and read it. Chapter 34, Moses' death. Then Moses went from the plains of Moab to the mountain Nebo on the top of Pisgah. which faces Jericho. The Lord showed him all the land, Gilead as far as Dan, all of Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, at the land of Judah as far as Mediterranean Sea. Then the Negev, the plain in the valley of Jericho, the city of palms as far as Zoar. The Lord then said to him, "This is the land I promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'll give it to your descendants. I have let you see it with your own eyes, but you will not cross into it." So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the Lord's word. He buried him in the valley of the land of Moab, facing Beth Peor, and no one on that day knows where his grave is. Moses was one of the 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not weak, and his vitality not left him. The Israelites wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. Then the days of weeping and mourning for Moses came to an end. Joshua, son of Nun, was filled with the spirit of wisdom because Moses had laid his hands on him. So the Israelites obeyed him and did as the prophetess has arisen again in Israel, like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, who was unparalleled for all the signs and wonders the Lord sent to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh, all his officials, and to all the land, for the mighty acts of power and the terrifying deeds Moses performed in the sight of Israel. So that's like 2 minutes extra. And so now you're done with Deuteronomy. Cool. And so it starts out, chapter 30, talking about how they're returning to the Lord after like all those curses and all that it was talking about. Then how they need like choose life. And then Joshua's going to start taking Moses' place because Moses is getting older, and so also he's going to die soon. And then Moses warns the people that like if they don't go back to if they go away from God or whatever, then like the bad stuff's going to come again. And so God tells Moses to write down like the song so that if they remember it, so when they turn away from him, they'll like have that as a witness. And the song nowadays doesn't really make much sense. You're like, how's that a song? It's just a bunch of words. But to be fair, it was in a different language. And so, yes, it's like the words have the same meanings as before, but the words in that different language probably rhymed, but they don't rhyme in this language. And so, yeah. Well, that's why I think. I'd assume that's why it wouldn't make as much sense now. If you want to know the actual reason, a quick Google search would solve that. And then it talks about Moses' impending death. Like how God's telling him where he's going to go before he dies, how he's going to see Canaan one last time. Or see Canaan, or the land flowing with milk and honey before he dies. And so, but Moses gives blessings, and it's kind of written like a song at one point. And then it talks about Moses' death and how like they mourn for 30 days. And then that was the end of it. That was 5 chapters today, and it was average time. And so you'll see me tomorrow reading 4 chapters of Joshua. But for me, that's today. And as soon as this ends, I'm going to have to be reading another one. But that's all for today for you. So I hope you had a good day so far. Have a great rest of your day. Remember, God loves you. Goodbye.